We saw in the previous video how we can use aircrack-ng to crack WPA encrypted passwords using a word list. In the previous video, aircrack-ng went through our word list. It combined each password in the word list with the ESSID to create the PMK using the PBK2 algorithm, and then compared the PMK to the handshake. If the PMK was valid, then the password that was used to create the PMK is the password we're looking for. If it's not, it just went to the next password and it created a PMK from it. So aircrack-ng was creating the PMKs on the fly. The process of combining the password and the ESSID to create the PMK takes a good bit of time, so it takes the most time of the cracking process. Therefore, in many scenarios, while we're waiting to capture the handshake, in many scenarios we'll have access points that doesn't have any clients connected to it. So if we have something like that, we have to wait until someone connects to the access point to capture the handshake. So while we're waiting, we can actually save time by converting our word list to a PMK list. Because as I said, converting the password to a PMK takes the most time. So while we're waiting, we can change each password in the list and create a new PMK list from our word list. And then once we capture the handshake, we can use our ready PMKs, and the cracking process is going to be much quicker. We're going to do this using aerolibng. So let's see how it works. Okay, so our first command is going to be to create a new database and import our word list in that database. So it's going to be aerolibng. We're going to create a new database. So let's call it test DB. And we're going to import passwords. And we're going to put the name of our word list, which is called WPA word list. So very simple. Aerolib is the name of the program. Test is the name of the database that we're going to create. And we're telling it to import passwords. And the passwords are going to be taken from a file called WPA word list. Gonna hit enter. And as you can see, a new database called test DB has been created. And the passwords have been imported into it. So the next command we're going to do is we're going to import our ESSID to the database. So I'm just going to store the name of the ESSID of the target network into a file. I'm going to do this using a Linux command, the echo command. So I'm just going to say test AP. I'm going to echo it to a file, and I'm going to call the file test ESSID. So that's basically, so I'm going to read it now. Cat test ESSID. That's just making sure that the name is there. So this command, I just created a file and I saved the word test AP in that file. That's the name of my target access point. And then here I just read the file to make sure that it actually contains test AP, and we can see that it contains test AP. Now I'm going to import this file into my database. So we're going to use the same command that we used before. The only difference is we're going to say we're importing ESSID this time. And the name of the file that contains the ESSIDs is test ESSID. So again, aerolibng test DB, that's the name of my database that I'm importing information to. Import is the command, we want to import stuff. ESSID is the name that we're telling it we want to import ESSID. And test ESSID is just a text file that contains the name of my target access point. I'm gonna hit enter, and that has been imported successfully. Now this is the step that takes the most time. We're going to convert each password in the list. We're going to combine it with the ESSID. So we're going to create a list of PMKs from our word list. Again, we're going to use aerolibng, and we're going to put the name of the database that contains our word list. And then we're going to tell it to batch, which is just convert each password, combine it with the ESSID, and create a PMK from each password in the list. Okay, so As you can see now, it computed all the PMKs, so that's the number of PMKs, that's the number of passwords that I have in my original list, and all of these passwords have been converted to PMKs, and they're stored in my database, which is testdb. And we can see that it took 366 seconds. So we're saving this time because in the scenario that we're working on, we'd be only waiting for the handshake. So we can do this while we're waiting to capture the handshake. Once we have the handshake, then we can crack it straight away using the PMKs, the already done PMKs, which will be much quicker. Let's see how we do that. We're going to use aircrackng, and we're going to use the option R to specify our database, which is called testdb. And then we're going to specify our handshake file, which is WPA or test handshake.cap. So very simple, aircrackng R to specify the testdb, and then we're going to specify the handshake file. Gonna hit enter. And as you can see, we cracked the password in much quicker. We cracked it in less than a second. So in the previous video it took 2 minutes and 16 seconds. Now it took less than 1 second. So it's much quicker because instead of aircrackng converting each password to a PMK, we are using a list of already made PMKs. So this is useful if capturing the handshake is taking a while because there is no clients connected to the target network. We have our PMKs ready so that once we capture the handshake, we can crack it straight away.